Hi, everyone. Welcome to the All Things Amyloid podcast, where we feature patients, caregivers, and clinicians who discuss amyloidosis, a rare and incurable disease. Amyloidosis occurs when the body builds up abnormal amounts of misfolded amyloid protein, which can lead to serious and life threatening outcomes. I'm your host, Mackenzie, an amyloidosis patient and founder of Mackenzie's Mission. Our goal for this podcast is to raise awareness and share firsthand what it's like to live with this disease, to care for those affected by it, and to treat it. We hope this leads to earlier diagnosis and start of treatment, which will improve patient lives. While living with a chronic illness, especially a difficult one like amyloidosis, patients may experience periods of emotional darkness, where the proverbial glass is half empty. Powerful feelings such as despair and depression can overtake any positives of the situation. For many patients, moving from darkness into the light can offer hope, joy, and happiness from life in a new way. In today's episode, Gesna and I will discuss our journeys through darkness into light and the power of shining light in our own individual way. Gesna, I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Mackenzie. I'm so excited to talk with you today about our journeys with amyloidosis.
Absolutely. You're such a positive and optimistic and just a beautiful person. And I think our discussion will be so helpful to many in their journeys with any chronic illness, including amyloidosis. There are many aspects for us to discuss today, but perhaps we start with the darkness in your journey. Darkness often begins at the time around diagnosis. Symptoms may well be at their worst. Answers often remain unknown, and emotions such as fear and worry are really running rampant at this point. And then the answer comes. We receive a diagnosis like amyloidosis, and the fear and the terror of the unknown future now becomes amplified.
Well, disbelief was my initial reaction. Why? Well, the diagnosis came after my open heart surgery to redirect an anomalous coronary artery, which cardiologists diagnosed as the cause of my weakened state. Anger followed while I was still in ICU when a team of specialty cardiologists told me that I had congestive heart failure. They believed I had a condition called amyloidosis and that it was hereditary. My anger was heightened, but it was now infused with sadness because I wasn't told this before my open heart surgery. The specialty cardiologist told me that the average doctor or cardiologist wasn't even able to identify the disease. It took specialized training. Couple this with having suffered a stroke 2 weeks after the surgery, which is not uncommon in patients who undergo open heart surgery. So now salt had been poured on my wound.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And certainly can understand how that would bring about significant darkness. But I'd love to talk about how did you come out of this?
Well, I had the support of my daughter and my son in law through these first critical months following my surgery. Their support was absolutely invaluable. My next step was to see a therapist who gave me tools to help me manage my emotional swings. She helped me understand the importance of acknowledging my feelings while adapting to my new reality. In fact, the two could work together. Yes, it was okay to periodically have a pity party, but it was not okay for it to get in the way of my moving forward. Most importantly, she helped me affirm that though I was now in a more physically weakened state with mobility issues brought on by the stroke, I was still the fiercely independent person I had always been. This was the beginning of me coming out of the darkness into the light. So, Mackenzie, what was your pathway from darkness to light?
I think my pathway looked a lot like yours. It it certainly starts with significant darkness when you have the diagnosis and you're unsure. And I think that transition from dark to light really started when, in combination with having strong family and friend support, but also the support of my care team and outlining a solid, strong plan that we could follow. I took great comfort in knowing, okay, there's something we can do, right? If we follow this plan, maybe there's a chance that Google is wrong. Maybe I will live more than 6 to 18 months. So I think it started with knowing that I had good people around me and I knew what the next step was going to be. And ultimately, coming to the realization that I could turn that fear that I had, the fear of uncertainty, I could turn that energy into something productive, into something positive that could benefit other patients and future patients. And that's where Mackenzie's mission comes in. And so the combination of those things really was what allowed me to transition from kind of a place of darkness to a place of light and hope and fulfillment.
So I think I'm hearing strong support network, lots of information, taking that information and turning it into a sense of purposefulness, translated to a lot of courage, tenacity, and drive. And I have always been a pretty positive person. So hearing your story really helps me tremendously as I continue to navigate living with my illness. I've learned how important it is to stay in control and not allow the condition to be my primary driver. As hard as it can get when I have no energy and all I want to do is curl up in a ball, I try to power through this by taking on a small project to distract me. Then there are times when I'm just at peace, doing absolutely nothing, knowing that it too shall pass, which it generally does. Mind over matter can often be more powerful than we could ever imagine.
That's something that's not to be underestimated, right? The power of your mind. And while distractions, like you mentioned, can certainly be extraordinarily beneficial in the short term, I think ultimately you make a wonderful point that mind over matter is kind of the more long term, I think, solution to enjoying that light, right? Understanding that we do have hard times, but these too shall pass and we'll get through it. So I love that point that you make.
Thank you so much. And like you, I do want to live a life of purpose. And additionally, I want to be joyful. And of course, I often have struggles, as I've mentioned earlier. But what's interesting is that many of my struggles aren't physically visible to others. Aside from my mobility issues associated with the balance, which was caused by a stroke, and my need to use a walker, I look normal and appear to have lots of energy and drive from the outside. Yet inside, there is this sense of turbulence. The positive input, however, that I get from others helps to fuel my soul and helps me to ride out the storm. And I'll give you a case in point. A few weeks ago, in the independent and assisted living community where I am, um, our programs director organized Olympic events that would coincide with the Paris events. And I actually competed in four of those events, was a surprise to me, actually. That was something that was really outside of my comfort zone. Surprisingly, I won a gold medal and a silver medal. And boy, was I surprised. I didn't win a medal in all four events, but I sure had lots of fun competing with my fellow residents. And having fun is what's really important. Humor can never, never be underestimated. That's not necessarily humor, but having a sense of joy and being able to laugh and have fun with friends is just so important. Engaging with life and doing your best. And that's what keeps the flame burning.
I love that story, and I'm so glad you shared that with our audience because it's true. Just getting out there and, like you said, engaging in life and being able to see the humorous side of things, and I just think that's a wonderful story for anyone, right? I think it's a great way to live your life, but it also reminds me that there are opportunities to engage with life, and they come in all shapes and sizes. They can be planned, they can be unplanned, and just it's about seizing that moment. And perhaps there's some gardening you've been meaning to do, or an art museum you've wanted to attend, or even just going out and getting the mail. I mean, finding things you can do and focus on those things can be really powerful.
I absolutely agree with you. And we don't need to have a grand master plan. Baby steps count too. It's about putting one foot out in front of the other and being proud of whatever those simple little achievements are that you make. For me, some examples of things I did to find the light and joy have been coordinating a team to manage the gardens in my community, staying connected with the Audubon Society, which I've been a member of for several years, and realizing that I can't do it the way that I did once upon a time, but I do it at a slower pace. Nonetheless, I'm still enjoying that experience. I'm serving on advisory boards in my residence and in my community, and I'm speaking to anyone who will listen to me about the importance of learning how to be your best advocate. I spend time with friends, visiting botanical gardens, or enjoying afternoon tea, or just a simple walk. The list is endless of the simple things we can do to bring joy, positive energy, and light to our lives.
You know, life's journey isn't a straight line, and it has both good and bad times. And some of those tough times are often related to disease. They could be relapse, treatment side effects, and the unknowns. Are treatments going to work? Or they could be completely unrelated to your disease, like work or family. So, how do how do you keep that positivity during those kind of times that we all go through?
Well, I try to keep my eyes on the prize, metaphorically speaking. The prize is life. In my formative years, my mother wisely said, "No one promised us that life would be easy." And I have learned through my illness that life is a precious gift to be treasured and honored, no matter what the circumstances.
Those are really wonderful words, and I think it's good to keep that in mind when there are hard times. That it's not supposed to be easy, and that these things happen, but again, they shall pass. So, Gesna, as we wrap things up about finding hope and shining your light, would you mind sharing some of your closing thoughts with our audience?
Yes, I would say just keep moving forward. Opportunities to seek hope and light may be small or larger, planned or unplanned. It doesn't matter. Just try and understand that trying may be more important than the outcome itself. Appreciate that life is not a straight line and there are ups and downs, no matter who you are. No single thing will be the bright light, but rather the power of positivity will come in abundance over time.
Gesna, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a true pleasure to get to chat with you today. I found our discussion very powerful, enlightening, motivational, and ultimately hopeful. It reminds me that life is finite and our time here is unrecoverable. And Even though there is illness, you very well may have some control over how you choose to spend it. And that also goes for the emotional perspective you choose to embrace every day. That there is no right or singular answer regarding how you find light. Everyone comes from different backgrounds, lives different perspectives, but that light still exists. And shining your light is often an attitude that isn't bound by physical limits. Enjoy life's journey, everyone, as it's the only one that we get. Thank you for listening to the All Things Amyloid podcast. If you find our podcast informative, please follow and share it with others. If you want to learn more about the work we're doing at Mackenzie's mission, please visit mm713.org. We'd also like to thank AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals, Alexion Pharmaceuticals, Alnylam Pharmaceuticals, and Bridge Biopharma for their sponsorship to help raise awareness about amyloidosis. We hope you stay tuned for future episode drops. Thanks for listening.